economic growth while having what you call improving the infrastructure by providing subsidies to the sectors which are not profitable. By through all these aspects, government can improve a long-term growth in the economy. And also, what are the negative impacts which we can have through government interfering into the economy is like by having higher taxes, it may discourage the investments or the working incentive currently. Like, so if we are to tax the high generating income people, so it's going to be a demotivating factor for them to work more or to earn more. So that's a demotivating factor for the high income or the working class people. And also, excessive government regulations may reduce business efficiency. So too much of government regulation, so if they have to go through several layers of protocols, several layers of regulations, it may discourage the efficiency of the business. Like, it may discourage private sector investment. So that's going to be a negative impact to the economy as well. And also, government increasing subsidies will increase the expenditure for the government budget as well. So that's also, again, roundabout going to affect the growth of the economy, because it's going to create a budget deficiency. Through that, again, it's going to bounce back. And also, government interventions may reduce the market competitions and innovation. So when there is too much of government interventions, where there is proper competition, perfect competition in the market, that may that will discourage proper competitions and innovations in the market as well. And poorly designed policies can create efficiencies and waste public resources. So these are the few factors which will have a positive impact and negative impact where the government intervenes to the economy. So as a conclusion, we can say government intervention is necessary to improve market outcomes and to protect the society. But however, too much interventions can reduce market efficiencies. Therefore, government should intervene only when the benefit outweighs the cost. So therefore, the government should have like proper mechanism to outweigh whether intervening is gives a higher return or not intervening gives a higher return. So based on like having proper analysis, having proper guidance from economists or financial feasibility people who are really known in the market, it's better to get the like always there's opportunity cost for whatever the decision is taken, to always get the go through the decision which outweighs the most, or else which gives the highest return is the best option to go through. So this is the conclusion our team came through. Thank you.
Okay. Any other group?
So we group 2.
Group 2, group B. Samaravira, Sandamali, Tennakonda, and Vijayasubbu.
Yes, the 4 of us.
How, 4 of them there or anyone absent?
Guys, can you speak to show whoever who's present? Purnika?
Yes, I'm in.
You don't know, didn't participate in the group discussion?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
only Apna, he's not in the today's
okay,
class.
okay, then go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay. So our topic obviously is government intervention, and why government intervention is needed and the positives and negatives of it. So I think the 2 previous groups did a good introduction. So what we are going to do here, we are not going to like use all these slides. We'll just brief it through to say what we think of government intervention, what are the positives and negatives, and also what we have observed in the Sri Lankan economy. So obviously, to start with, why we need a government intervention. Oftentimes, governments choose to intervene the free market mechanisms to make benefits for themselves. That's in terms of like tax revenue, or in situations where they perceive the existing market price is either too high or too low, which does not give according to them, which does not give the ideal benefit to the consumers or the producers. So last couple of weeks, we discussed 3 types of government intervention: minimum price, maximum price, and also tax revenues. overall, what we understood from these three discussions is that theoretically, it may look like an adequate intervention to counter whatever that is happening in the market. The social welfare in all these scenarios ultimately reduce, leading to long-term productivity loss. So now, when we look at a theoretical analysis, we oftentimes calculate the deadweight loss, but also open our eyes to something that we don't see, which is the full employment assumption that we make in these neoclassical models. Now, when we look at the Sri Lankan economy, let's say now there's some price mechanism and certain part of producers were kicked out of the market. Are they able to be employed in any other sector just because we assume full employment? So this brought us to the conclusion or the idea or the insight that free market, no, in government interventions in the free market mechanisms may not always give the ideal outcomes. If we look at, hold on, I need to get my notes. And yes, the final slide. Now, if we look at the current Sri Lankan economy and the rice market, we always see whenever there is a harvesting season, the government will introduce some sort of a price control and then patch the situation then and there for the time being. We realize that we always look at the demand side of the aspect and not the long-term supply side of the aspect. Let's say there's a shortage, we will import. There's an excess supply, we will see farmers protesting in the roadside saying our produce is not purchased by the market. So what we realize is that though government has tried to intervene to the market to address these market failures, it has failed to complement these interventions with necessary long-term policies. Now, for example, in the rice market, we see this happening every single year. But have we looked at the ways in which technology and innovation can produce better long-term outcomes by expanding the supply? I think as a conclusion, what we would like to say is that these government interventions are only a short-term fix to the problems or market failures. And in fact, when the government intervenes, the market outcome, the optimal outcome does not come out and it further aggravates the situation. What we know, even for the tax, what we understood is that we charge taxes, the government charge taxes, expecting that this tax revenue will be used on something good like better healthcare facilities, better education. Have we actually reaped those benefits as a country? So those are the questionable points when it comes to government intervention in the Sri Lankan market. So our conclusion is that yes, government intervention can be done. It could be one option, but it must be complemented with adequate long-term policies to handle the supply side defects as well. That's it.
Okay. Any other group? Maybe last chance.
Yes, sir. We are in group 2.
Group 2. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell the names of the group?
Yes. Participants' names, sir.
Yeah, today who participate?
Jassi and Janani.
I have group 2.
Arjun, we are group
Sandamani,
3.
Tennapon, Vijayasundar.
Jesse, we are group 3.
Yeah, we are group 3. Sorry, sir. I mistakenly said.
It must be group C then.
Yeah, group 3,
Group
sir.
C. Kitma, Pereira, Vasana, Minime. That also. Jeffrey, you have in the mind with the group Manusika, Navarat, Uttala, and Devi, right? Okay. Okay. Thanks. You can start.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So today we are going to discuss about why should government we are focusing mainly on Sri Lankan context. So I'm not explaining why why government should have to influence in the market. So everyone's explained it very well. So I'm just giving an example. So in our countries, so there's a market failure will be happen. So because of that, so government should have intervene and the monitor it. So you can be says that our government course like electricity. So electricity is operating by mostly the governments now. It's partially private, but it's mostly it's under the government. So because of because of saving the consumers and also the save the publics. So these things, so government intervenes in the markets, electricity things. Other thing is the public goods. You can see the roads and also the street lining. So it's under the publics. So the government is monitoring and give their supports to maintaining its. So if we are giving to the private sectors these costs, so it will be increase the additional cost of the consumers who spending the road and also the lighting. So this the why the government intervention in the public is to monitor and evaluate. And other thing is the negative externality. So it's governments in our country, they are putting some environmental taxes and also the when we are considering the cigarette, so then cigarette is mostly taxable. So this the things the government intervenes in the market to protect the consumers and also the then giving to the welfare to the public. And other thing is the control the monopoly power. So you know that some markets they are one firm is dominating and also the other firms are following that prices. So some Indians, so the powerful market powerful firm will increase their prices. It's like you can be say that why governments set the price for price stability. So you can be say the rise price. So um, governments publish the rice price is a certain period. So you can sell the price after up to 150 rupees or above. So these are government's price ceilings. And also you can be see the news like the government is increasing fuel and also the LPG gas, and so the medicine prices also set by the government in Sri Lanka, because it's also the protecting the welfare and also the maintaining the market. It's very stable. So and also the governments in intervening in Sri Lanka install the equity in Sri Lankan peoples and also the market and also that. So the lower income family mostly affected by the market failure. So the government intervenes and welfare program and also give the some firms governments giving the subsidies to develop and to improve their conditions. So this is the way government intervenes in Sri Lanka, and also they are making the regulation policies, and also they are using as the tools tax and subsidies and price ceilings, all of the stuff they are using as a tool to develop and intervene in the market. So then GitMe will be continue further.
Thanks, Dashi. So now that we have understood what government intervention is and how governments intervene, so now I am going to discuss about why governments actually do it, what benefits does it bring to society. Right, so the first benefit is that government intervention helps to correct market failure. So now what do we mean by market failure? A market failure happens when the free market cannot allocate resources efficiently. For example, think about a factory producing cement. So the factory earns profit by selling cements, but at the same time, it releases smoke into the air. So the people living nearby suffer from air pollution. So, but the factory does not compensate them. So who bear the cost? The people. This is a market failure because the market price of cement does not include the environmental damage. So in this situation, the government can intervene by introducing environmental regulations, and also they can set emission standards, or and they can impose a pollution tax. So this encourages firms to reduce pollution, and also it consider the costs they impose on society. So another important benefit is protecting consumers. So think about medicines, for example. So would you be comfortable buying medicine if there were no quality checks? Probably not. So without government regulations, companies could produce unsafe medicine and also expired food products. So that's why government have institutions that inspect products before they reach consumers. In Sri Lanka, for example, the National Medicines Regulatory Authority checks medicines, while the Consumer Affairs Authority helps to protect consumers from unfair business practices. So these regulations increase public confidence, and it also ensure that products meet minimum safety standards. And also the government intervention also protect workers. For example, imagine there were no labor laws. Some employers might ask employees to work 14 or 15 hours a day without overtime pay. So other might may extremely low wages or ignore workplace safety. So to prevent this, governments introduce labor laws. For example, they regulate working hours and require safe working environments, provide maternity benefits, and protect employee rights. So the idea is to ensure that workers are treated fairly rather than being exploited. And if we move on to the disadvantages of government intervention, so now does this mean government intervention is always good? Not necessarily. The first challenge is what economists call government failure. So, just because the government intervenes does not automatically mean the outcome will provide. Sometimes the policy itself is poorly designed. Sometimes the implementation is work. For example, uh, we can say that the government introduces a subsidy, but the subsidy reaches people who do not actually need it, while the intended beneficiaries receive very little support. So, in that case, government resources are being wasted. So another disadvantage is inefficiency. For example, the government institutions don't always have the same incentive as private businesses. So, and if we move to the government intervention in Sri Lanka, so now it's relate these ideas to Sri Lanka because you will understand them much better through real examples. So, one of the biggest example is free education. So, Sri Lanka has provided free education for decades. So many of you are studying at the university and without paying the tuition fees, charge many but they charge many private universities. So this allowed students from different economic backgrounds to receive higher education. So without free education, many capable students might not have had this opportunity. Another example is free health. So government hospitals provide treatment at little or no direct cost. But in many countries, this that treatment could cost millions of rupees. But in Sri Lanka, patients can receive treatment through the public healthcare systems. So this significantly reduces the financial burden on families. But the challenge is at the same time, Sri Lanka also shows us why government intervention must be carefully managed. For many years, the government spent large amounts on subsidies and they maintain loss-making state-owned enterprises. So it means that if government expenditure continues to increase while revenue remains insufficient, budget deficits become larger and the government may need to borrow more. So eventually, this can create debt problems, right? So the thing is that the government is neither completely good nor completely bad. So without government intervention, markets can fail, consumers and workers may not be protected, and inequality can increase. But too much intervention or poorly designed intervention can also reduce the efficiency, discourage investment, and also can create financial difficulties. So therefore, the goal of every government is should be to find the right balance, intervene where necessary, while allowing markets to operate efficiently where they can. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir,
Is that all? Any
sir,
last one, right?
Hello,
we are
good morning,
group
sir.
11.
Yes, you can continue, Utpala.
Yes, we are group 11. I'm Utpala Navaratna and my friend is Miss Maheshika, and only we both doing the presentation. I think all of my friends explained about the government intervention to the economic is very briefly, but I will explain simply. I will do the simple uh, introduction and things. Government intervention to the economic means government takes actions to control, uh, support the economy. Actually, it is done when the market does not work properly. But I think it is very important. Some part the government intervention is very important. Beca- uh, let's see why government intervention to the economy. Government invent to protect consumers, to support farmers and businesses, to control high prices, to reduce poverty, to create employment, to provide public services, to reduce pollutions. They are the main uh, main reasons to government intervention to the economy. Because when I will explain with the example how government intervention to the economy. Government intervention to the government fix a maximum price ceiling. Government invention by price ceiling. As example, maximum price for rice is 200 rupee per kilogram. Government invention to government make the lower price. Uh, then price flow. The government fix a minimum price. Example, a minimum price for milk is given to protect farmers. Then government add taxes to some goods. Example, high taxes on cigarettes and things. The price is product to cigarette consumptions may decrease and the price of the product increase. The government gives financial support. Example, that means subsidies. Example, fertilizer subsidies for farmers to products cost. By giving the subsidies, the production cost decrease and the government spending increases. But and also government introduced laws and standards to foods such as food safety laws, minimum wages laws, and things to consumer and workers to protect the consumers and workers. Also, government provides education, public service. Government provide public services such as education, healthcare, roads and transport, and things. They provide these things to everyone can receive the important service. In therefore, but government invention can protect to especially the government invention to these are to protect and improve the economy. However, it is must be careful plan. Poor intervention can cause shortages, surpluses, black markets, and higher government spending. I think the government intervention is government should be do this intervention to more carefully and more practically. The next part will be continue by my friend, the Miss Maheshika.
Thank you, Utpala. In our presentation, my part is I am focusing the positive and negative impact of government intervention. First, let me explain positive impact of government intervention. Government intervention can help to correct market failure and improve social welfare. For example, the government can introduce regulation to control environment pollutions and protect consumer. Government support programs such as subsidies and welfare programs can help low-income groups by improving their access to essential goods and services. In addition, government investment in areas such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare can promote long-term economic growth and improve living standards. However, government interventions also have negative impact. Excessive government interventions can reduce the efficiency of the market system. For example, such as price control may create the shortage because supply may reduce productions when prices are kept artificially low. Furthermore, high government spending on subsidies and welfare program can increase the financial burden on the government and lead to higher public debt. Too many regulation can also discourage businesses from investing and reduce economic efficiency. Therefore, government intervention is necessary to solve economic problem, but it should be carefully designed and implemented to balance economic growth, social welfare, and financial stability. In conclusions, government intervention is important to correct market failure, support economic growth, and protect society. However, excessive intervention can create problems such as inefficiency and higher government cost. Therefore, a balanced and well-planned approach is necessary to achieve economic stability and social welfare. We hope you have get clear idea about government intervention through our presentation too. Thank you all.
We can stop this point. And, I think a few things. And one thing, I think Group B present and others also. It's some of the things what you mentioned, the government intervention or required to government intervention, like for example, economic growth, reduce inflation, or some of the things. Really, without government direct intervention, I think we have to think of another mechanism to address those things. And also, what we can always hear, for instance, like health or universities or education, if the private sector run, we always, I mean, in the social media and everything, it's only profit motivation, not is the then we have believe in that kind of things in the government intervention or the government mechanism better than the private. I don't know how this created and why the government not correct this also. Now, some presentation you said like a private, pre-education, pre-health kind of thing. So it's like our blood right now, we can't deviate from it. It must be there better ways to rather than the way what we provide those pre-education in that case. Now, for example, health and education not kind of pre, then what will happen? And I don't know, we have to look at open and think of that one. Those in the society, someone penalize, something happen, then we need the social protection rather than the wholesale subsidies. We have to think of those areas, and I don't know, maybe if you do a cost benefit analysis in some of the intervention, that questionable really government does anything properly. Those the questions there. So different argument may be very difficult to argue this pain because we are not trained to think of other side of the story, and we are not even willing to think of the other side stories. So become our blood and flesh. And also, some one presentation mentioned that I already did the class lectures last week. The intervention. I think I did not start. Did I? Hello, anyone?
So I think we discussed a couple of mechanisms.
Really? No, it's mine. What we discuss anyway, because I confused because same thing, maybe separate group. I thought I did not do last week. We did the elasticity, right?
Yes, we discussed about the price floors, price ceiling. We discussed that part.
We discussed last time.
Yes,
Price ceiling
Yes.
and
yeah.
And then
which
we
mean you
slightly
complete.
started on tax, and you said you will take up tax again today as well, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought we did not discuss with you, maybe some other group. Okay, I will continue this point today. And so what I'm going to do quickly, we look at last week what we had done. And here the government intervention, the mean, like you presented, the so several ways. Here we look at the price intervention. There are also only selected areas we will discuss, and like you said, the last week we already covered few, and I will continue from this point today. And yeah. Now, before that, I think the last week, I'm not sure whether I took this one and did properly. And the IMF publication in 2022, and based on USC data, it did this analysis and just to understand when the government intervenes to the system in different way. For example, one of the things government has to take a decision. Those decision makers and general public and the decision makers together expert, they react, they think different way. It's matter of cost. Now you can see, for instance, income tax. Now income tax change, the reaction, now look at in terms of inflation, the government expert, policymakers think that the inflation drop. But the reality in the general population public, that's how they feel they got it. It's a positive and the inflation increase. And here also unemployment. The unemployment increase both prediction, but the general public unemployment increase faster than what the government officers or the expert decision makers think. The challenge, channel, you must learn how to do this happen. Why unemployment increased when the government increased income tax. So I shared some article also you could read. Now another one variable or sub I'll take like government expending. Now look at the government expending. When the government expend, expert or public decision makers think the inflation increase faster than what the public think. Here, in terms of unemployment, public officers or decision makers think unemployment reduce very dramatically or faster than what the general public think. So these are matters when the differences really the government intervention correct the market failure or address the market failure. It's either two things wrong here. not this study, the system, one may be theory completely wrong, or maybe theory has changed. Because the experts may look at the theory and take the decision. Or maybe the expert does not have knowledge or proper information. Or they are maybe thinking, taking the like rent-seeking behavior in advance, their benefit. So those are real matters when we discuss this. Also, another way looking at the same article, you can see different shock introduced. Demand side policies, supply side policies, how shock work in the household level, they expect, and the expert, like our decision makers expert. Now, if I take one, the high interest rate. Now, for instance, central bank changed the interest rate. So then the rise firm's price, the market price, the firm price, you can see about 42%. The price increase when the inflation interest rate increase. But this is the central bank expert thing. That in the real matter, not to work properly, like I always mention, the macroeconomic policies, and ultimately it does not drop down to the system, very less effective result. You can see. Another thing I let's say in demand side, for example, here, invest less due to high interest rate. Now, central bank increased policy rate few weeks ago. Now, with that, central bank may expect investment reduced due to very little. Invest less due to. So, about central bank experts, they think majority this. But the reality is a wrong message go to the household level. This gap is really matter. Though central bank take action, is not properly landed. If nothing happened like that, what the central bank expected. The other thing also you can see, if you want, you can read this article also. Here directly you can download it then, or you can search it and got it. This done in the COVID period, the USA economy. But imagine it's, or maybe you can do your study, the masters in Sri Lankan context, kind of similar study, conduct surveys, expert or public decision makers, and the general public in the different level, you can get it and do a very nice analysis. At least these two graph enough for that. Maybe you can run a regression also. Can see a nice result, would be a nice study. Now, I took this one when you discuss the government intervention, that gap, ground level, and the like what we always used to say, decision makers take decision in AC rooms, but the reality is different kind of thing. Now, the current context, you can see that very well right now, because the new politicians, though we believe that they came from rural areas and different, now we stay in the AC room, how they take the decision. So, with that, we discuss the intervention only these four areas. Like I said, we discuss price ceiling and the price floor last time, but quickly look at and we will go on. So this, the exam questions, I hope, I think I gave last time. And I give exam question like this. Take a real news article or thing, can to analyze using demand and supply. This also I did discuss with the government tax cuts, how positively impact the economy in different ways and different calculation and different years. You can see I did that one also last time. The price flow also I did. Here, one thing you have to understand what is price flow. Of course, we discussed the minimum price and what happened with that. We know that this create a surplus. With the surplus, what are the consequences also we discussed. Here, textbook, when you analyze the effect of the price flow, like we discussed before, take these two concepts to see whether it's a negative or positive impact on the society or economy. At that, we discussed it create a great loss, though it's kind of favor or better for producers. So that is the discussion we did, and that is the textbook discussion. And also here depend on this whether it's really benefited to the producer or consumer. Of course, this price flow not benefited to the consumer, to the producer. The elasticity, demand and supply, that also you must know, and we discussed the last. In addition to this, the dead weight loss to this price flow intervention, I also discussed the value of this area. Why the microeconomics textbook silent on this area also I discussed. But this is real issue to the society, to the economy. I think the discussion you found that. Why neoclassical economics don't take this area? Because the like today presentation also someone mentioned like full employment scenario. But full employment situation is not reality even developed countries. It's a kind of a identical or hypothetical situation. Or even the full employment there, like economic nirvana. But the problem is this kind of policies introduced, those who work in this sector, though even full employment is supposed to move to the another sector. Now, suppose this happened in the paddy industry. So these farmers then have to move to the another industry. That's the problem. Is they two things. Has to be another opportunities there. That is again related to full employment. Even the opportunity there, it takes time for that transition periods. Who look after or what policy look after? Of course, fundamentally we have social protection policy, but in Sri Lankan case, that's silent. The other countries, though, someone say we pay less tax and other countries pay so much tax, and those taxpayers, if something happens, the government look after or the system look after them very well. Though once, let's say, the billionaire lost the job and system look after them, and this is the way. But in Sri Lanka, it's not like that. The other thing also, this transition period, they have to develop different kind of skill. If you extreme case, let's say the farmer, in the paddy sector, the paddy farmer, if this happen to move to the, let's say, chili or any other plant. So that skill also required especially skill development. If not happen, what happen? He moved to the, let's say, another crops. He can't get 100% out of that. because it's not skill, not experience there. So getting that training and experience need the mechanism, need the system. Of course, the social protection system has to do with that. But in Sri Lankan case, we don't have a skill development system for that. Until those periods look after their families, also no system. So that create not only the economic issue, social issues, social unrest and things happen. So that one. The price ceiling also, again, the price ceiling means like we discussed last time, the price decide below the market price. So in that case, they create the shortage and shortage has to bill. So where can pay? So maybe some of you maybe suggest to import, but in import case, again, the so many link chain issues come in, and again, the market, the economy, foreign exchange shortage, and this is the real issue in Sri Lanka. And so importation in that case. Now, with that, government try to restrict import, either tariff or any other way, then the illegal importation come. So that also, again, because the illegal, no quality control and no things, and even the so much issues come. And if not change to this kind of import solution, then what we discuss is create a black market price. The black market price also we discussed. And the effect, of course, the theoretical and neoclassical textbook analysis here also using consumer surplus and producer surplus, you can see in textbook. According to textbook, it's also created net weight loss, which means loss to the society, though it's product consumers better off. But that has certain issues again. When the consumers better off the cost of producer, the economy economic growth is matter, because the producer surplus, what they use as surplus in terms of reinvestment and productive purpose mainly, not consumption purpose, and that help to the economic growth happen. Now here also you can see the initially produced 100, let's say, after price ceiling now produce 80. This up again the issue directly. If you calculate the economic growth using the production possibility frontier, definitely now we have to use the second one to calculate GP, not the first one, because the production reduced. And those who work in this area or earn money, they are earning, not only workers who provide the input also, they lose their income. And that is also same discussion like I did before previously. With the full employment, no issue, but the reality is not full employment. So that is the real issue. The whatever thing, those taxpayers always, we will see later on. Now, some of your presentation also, you happily said that the pre-education, pre-health and everything, that inefficiency plus this cost to the taxpayers. So at the same time, you must understand that. So within the pre-education also change the mechanism, taxpayers' burden can be reduced. So not the way right now this country running those things. Those who required giving pre and a different mechanism use that also, it's the country may be better off. But still, we are not willing to think, we are not willing to change that one, because that kind of a social stigma also there. When you talk against and others maybe think against you, this kind of mentality we have as a problem. Now, the tax, assuming that the last time I did not complete this discussion, I will start from here today, the discussion, the government intervention, one instrument, the tax. Compared to the previous price ceiling and price floor, here one good thing, or I'm not saying good thing, the price floor and the price ceiling, government, though intervenes, does not get anything. Does not get anything, introduce just outside. To address those suffered, to address the negative impact, those group, maintain, look after those group, no money to the government. Because that policy does not bring any money to the government. But the tax case is a different. At least government can earn some money. Now, the problem here with this current scenario, or maybe the last beyond 20, 15, 10 years, we as a general public, even the little no economics also now used to think tax only to generate only the government's revenue. Use tax only to generate government revenue, no other thing. So that kind of feeling what we have in this country when you talk about tax. Of course, the tax generate to but the tax as an instrument, government or any other can be used to address the market failure. That is the most important thing. While it generates some revenue. Now here, two types of we know usually. That's what we call directly pay what you earn income tax. As an industry, you directly pay without link to the commodity. As a person, when you earn tax, income tax, personal income tax, you pay that also. That is different. But that argument is very easy. That directly affect to the demand curve. For instance, without direct income tax, let's say this is the demand function, demand curve. Now, since your purchasing power of affordability reduced with the tax, let's say if you pay 36% tax, your demand curve directly shift. Now, if the supply is not changed, for instance, so what happened in the market right now, you can see is the demand drop and the price goes down, but it does not happen. The quantity also, production goes down. Now imagine if this happened according to theory, in case of taxing. Now original is produced, let's say 100 million unit of kilos. Now let's say produce only 80 million. Originally, let's say $12 the market price. Now let's say $10 is the market price. The other thing constant, and this is theoretically this happen in case of tax because the demand curve shift invert and that. Now, let's say in the economy has only one industry, this, or even the all the other industries happen same thing because the income tax happen affect to the all the market, all the industries. Now let's say single industry case, and before this income tax case, in the economy generate in terms of GDP $12,000 million, $1,200 million, $1,200 million. So when you calculate GDP, that happened. But now you see the produce 80 and the market price is C, and the monetary value now GDP become 800 million dollars. So this 400 million loss to the economy. It exactly happened theoretically if this happened in case of direct tax. Okay. Now this analysis here we take not this direct tax case, indirect tax in tax on commodities, and also here there are maybe tax imposed, government imposed tax as a percentage, and also unit tax per unit. This analysis we take the unit per unit, but the rate also we can use, but little complicate, and because of that we use only unit tax. Another thing, this is really extremely for the exam purpose. Look at in the exam papers, it's mentioned government impose, let's say, tax of 2 unit on seller or buyer. 2 words, carefully look at the exam question. That different will create a different analysis, but the same result. Now, on seller case, supply curve shift. On buyer case, demand curve shift. Now, in this particular exercise here, you can see in terms of on seller. Now, I think the last time we discussed using the graph and explanation done, and due to tax, now supply curve shift left hand side. The difference here, the per unit tax. For example, if government introduced $2 per unit, that is the amount, the difference. Now, result you can see, originally without situation like I already explained, is 0. There we produce, let's say, 80 unit, 8 million, with the $10. Now you can see, just assume Robinson economy, only one person and the one industry situation. This is the GDP. 80 multiplied and 800 million. Now with the tax, what happened? Now new equilibrium point came. Real GDP dropped up to 50 million. So I don't know then why, how government say the economic growth and government reach to, economy reach to middle income level with this kind. Now the price, the equilibrium price the buyer pay become $11 because unit tax is here too, $11. Now, if you take in the real GDP with the value term, then previously 8 million, now 50 million. Now, if you are in economics, really look at the production possibility frontier with 8 million and now 50 million. Only what you produce, you consume. Now the social welfare previously, community indifference. Now the social welfare here. The monetary value previously 800 million, now 550 million. So what happened to this different right now? What happened to this? It's not like we previously discussed only the dead weight loss. Now, there we discussed dead weight loss. And this part also it's there. I discussed previously. Serious is this part. How serious is this part? So that discussion, the tax what we did, and another way you can look at how to measure net weight loss and the change in consumer surplus and the government revenue. Now, the exam I give you demand function and the supply function. Let's say demand function we have 100, 5 P. You can do this exercise after the lecture and continue. I think I share with you one tutorial also. Let's say here supply function 5P. Now, we do, let's say the government introduced $5 per unit tax. $5. With that, you should be able to measure the original consumer surplus before, consumer surplus after, producer surplus before, producer surplus after, dead weight loss. And also this area value and really matter. So the exam you have to do. For that original equilibrium point here, like I marked E0, of course you can get it using the QD equal QS. So after that you can calculate all the other things. So they are the value you can get here. And the equilibrium price also you can get here. Now in the action, we have to find first this supply curve. So this is the supply curve, the original one. So to find this S1 supply curve here, I use the HT. Now what happened when the government imposed tax on seller has to pay, which means if originally $15 goes to seller hand, now with the tax, this $5 reduce this original price, now become I can give. If I apply this, taking away from the seller price, we can take supply function like 5P. Now the government take from not to add price. Now with the adjustment, now new supply function with the tax right now we can get it 5. In this case also anyway, the 5 is the unit tax we give in here also 5. Don't confuse because this 5 came here, the original here is the supply curve 5. Now we can simplify this supply function after tax to become I multiply by here minus 25 plus 5P. So this is the new supply curve which means S1. Now to find the equilibrium right now after tax, what we have to do, original demand curve to find the E1, but we have to go to the original demand curve and the intercept, the point here, E1, the new after tax supply function. So with that, you can find the value here, quantity after supply, and the price here. Price here. In that, you can calculate every A, B, C, D, E, and X, Y areas, and you can do that. So I have already gave you a tutorial. You can practice and you can do. It's not compulsory, but really better if you do and learn it. And the other thing, before come to this burden case, in the exam paper, when the last word is on seller or buyer. Now, if case of tax on buyer, there the demand curve is one shift. Now, original demand curve, so after new demand curve become TD. So here different become then the, let's say this case also tax $5. Right. Now the supply curves, let's say no change is coming here. Now the same thing what you can do is like previously what we did, like different way we do the analysis, ultimate results is same. Let's say here we take a demand function 60 minus 35 with 3p and supply to p. Now this is 0, the original equilibrium you can get, I mean here. Without QS equal QD, with that you can get the P equal 12, of course you can get it right. So that's how get. Now, after tax, new demand curve, you have to get. So that is one we have to do to the demand curve after tax, QD. Now, 60. Now, in this case, what happens when the government imposed on buyer, for instance, $5 tax is add to their market price. If the market price is 5, sorry, 10, for example, it's adding 5, become 50. Like this. So using that concept like 3 is at P, the price. So that is the. So with that we can find 60 here minus 3 P plus 3 what we give 5. Now simplify this one, you get the 15 minus 10. 45. So this become after tax supply curve. Now to get that, the equilibrium point here, E1, what we have to do, the original supply curve at QS, when the new demand curve with after tax, you can get the result. So there, now like previous case, you can find everything. And here become government revenue. This area become net rate lost. You can calculate and you can find. Now this area only become now after tax consumer surplus, this is producer surplus. And also this H area again you can see, though it's neoclassical economics, they don't count it, but it's serious. Because that is the one side input providers income, including entrepreneurs, including laborers, human resource, and other input providers, their income. So lost time. So, another thing also, like previously producer surplus, let's say B and C, the C area, including D, that's the part of dead weight loss. Now C area goes to government as the government revenue from producer. Now that is the point I always want to stress. The B plus say C previously with the private sector, with the producers and as a plus. The same area now transferred to the government. Government action is inefficient than the private, then definitely in terms of productivity, the economy lost in that way also. That is the. Now this issues comes seriously because the government used the tax as just to generate revenue. Other than to address the like externality or the market failure different, that's no issue because the in external case, the government take this money and redistribute those affected people. But here it's not like that. They redistribute wholesale. Now in terms of pre-education to everybody. Now in our duality system, though you like to understand or not, those pre-education and pre-health, the main taxpayers, they not get that benefit really. Because that public, the institution, public hospital and public school, those kind of their facilities and their things compared to the private is better than those who work hard, earn money, that those who pay tax, they tend to go to the private because the efficiency, their time and other quality and things, and they go. In that case, they double pay the tax. So we try to argue that we have to pay more tax in the country because it's public and public health and public education, other things. But unfortunately, those institutions now compare is the private hospital and the public hospital. The people go to public hospital, maybe spend the whole day there, and also even now in the university, for instance, some say that even the student can't go to the university washroom also. But if we go to the private university, it's not issue. Now, sometime back in though we invite the foreign student come to the universities in the undergraduate, and they stop coming. Even Sri Lankan government paid money because no facility. But they goes to the private university. So in that case, you can say that those who affordable has to pay the tax, and those who affordable has to go to the private system and pay the tax. So that is the issue. So that's what I always say. We need the mechanism giving free those who need your universal competitive with the private. That mechanism always we break. Our politician or somehow against and try to destroy. That's the unfortunate situation. Anyway, with that, I'll stop here. And the last point today, the tax burden. I think we all know that in the master level we have discussed. Consumers pay, supplier or producer pay, that burden to both parties is the differences depend from mainly the price elasticity. So for example, look at in elastic situation, more paid, which means the compulsory consumers and consumers pay more. In that way, when the government introduce tax, first they have to calculate the price elasticity and see and who are the most affected group in the society, producer or consumer. So that is very important. The last point in the intervention, we have to look at the subsidies. Now, these days, talk about the subsidies, especially paddy and other sectors heavily. So that I think now we don't have much time, and the next week I will take and we need a separate discussion and how it affects subsidies into the price mechanism and the society and the economy we will look at. So from this point, I will look at next week. I'll stop with this point. So thank you very much. And if you have any clarification, any questions, you can ask me right now. Otherwise, you can leave the meeting. And also, I WhatsApp you one, that is the main one. The assignment, 3 deadline given, 3 submission there. Work as a group. Only I give full marks, those publishable or you publish this article kind of situation. And we need a kind of a rigorous analysis and not directly all AI generated, but you can use support the AI to get the literature and thing, but not everything. And also I'll check those things because the university library, we have facilities right now, and we will do that. And I need a guideline there clearly. So you do the exercise, and even the deadline, I'm not going to extend. If you extend also, even you ask, I give reduce some marks and that one. Okay. Someone want to ask the question? Mahesh.
Yes, sir. Could you share our marks, sir? We are number 11 group, sir.
Number 11.
Navaratna and Mahishika. Yes, sir.
Did not the discussion, right?
We
You
did,
did not
sir.
present.
We did, sir. But did not give marks.
You need the mark, Navaratna and Manishika, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay. And all right. Is anyone else anything? This right now out of 20, but it doesn't mean that you can go out of. I mean, I continue this exercise. Even 40, I don't stop. Those who get the somewhere land at 40, and that point maybe I'll stop until I'll go. Which means at least 1, 2, 3 can get maximum midterm marks. So others are silent, they can't get that maximum. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good